Garrett Wilson is listed as one of the biggest sleepers in the NFL for 2022, and we're going to talk about it. Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary, back with another video, and today we'll be talking Garrett Wilson. Before we get started today, just wanted to mention you can follow on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Just Jets podcast. We had a very fun episode this past week talking about Zach Wilson. And of course, Exit 16 West, new episodes come out every single Thursday. And before we get into the video, just wanted to talk to you guys about Wednesday. If you don't know, the Jets Lounge is putting together a Jeremy Ruckert signing here on Long Island. I'll flash it up on the screen. It's going to be at the main event in Farmingdale. But if you can't make it, not only are they doing a virtual one where you could pay and they'll ship you an autographed thing, but myself and Richie from Jets Media will be broadcasting live from the main event. So if you want to tune into that, it's going to be right here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. So Garrett Wilson is an interesting piece in 2022 for this New York Jets team. I feel like, so the origin of this PFF article is talking about fantasy football and him being a sleeper in fantasy football. And while I like fantasy, this isn't a fantasy football channel. So I'm just going to do this more in terms of a sleeper for not only the Jets this year, but just in the NFL in general. And I kind of agree that he's being slept on, at least from this New York Jets draft class, because when you look at it, the ones that continue to get talked about, and I get it. I mean, Sauce Gardner was taken 4th overall, so he's been a huge story all offseason long, and I get that. Like, totally understand. Then you have Jermaine Johnson. The Jets traded up for Jermaine Johnson. The trade up and the surprise there, and the fact that you got him when you did, that's been a huge storyline. That's been talked about a lot. Getting Breece Hall in the second round, that's been talked about a lot because that's most people's running back one from this draft class. And almost to the point where they've been forgotten is Garrett Wilson at pick 10. The Jets took a wide receiver in the top 10 of the NFL draft, and it's almost a non-story. It's not a complete non-story because people are still talking about it, and he's still getting some hype. But if you were to just say that like last year, or if we were to isolate, right? Like if the Jets didn't have those, 4 picks in the top 40 after the trade, if they didn't have 3 other picks, if let's say it was just a pick in the first round, a pick in the second round, then we would be going nuts because the Jets finally took a wide receiver in the first round. They're finally trying to go all in on the wide receiver position. They're trying to finally go all in to help their young quarterback. And it's almost an afterthought. It's crazy. And I think, like, was Garrett Wilson the first wide receiver off the board? No, Drake London was. But for the most part, it was a debate whether Drake London or Garrett Wilson was the best wide receiver in this draft class. A lot of people thought Garrett Wilson. Hell, a lot of people thought Drake London too. I think it was a legitimate debate, but the Jets got someone who on most people's boards is a top 10 player at number 10 overall, at wide receiver, a position that they've been so weak at. Like, the Jets never have anyone who ever comes close to sniffing 1,000 rushing yards or 1,000 receiving yards, and they take this prospect in the top 10, and it's almost an afterthought, which is just so crazy to me. But here's why maybe he won't be a sleeper. I'm going to do both sides of this. It may be tough for him to come in and pop right away for a couple of reasons. Number one is who the quarterback is and Zach Wilson. Now, I'm a believer in Zach. I think he's going to take a massive step forward, but he's a question mark this year. You can't deny that he's a question mark. We have to see still what he's going to be at this level. If things don't go well, or if he takes just a marginal step, the chances of him putting up top tier stud wide receiver production, probably a little bit on the slimmer side. And then also on top of that, it's the depth that they have at the wide receiver position. Because you have Elijah Moore, who many people are looking at as a breakout candidate. You have Corey Davis coming back from injury. You brought back Braxton Berrios, who is not only a fan favorite, but a Zach Wilson favorite. He's very comfortable throwing to him. You have Breece Hall and Michael Carter, who are running backs out of the backfield that can catch the football. You have 3 new tight ends that can catch the football. So maybe you don't see Garrett Wilson come in and put up like stud numbers right away. But more often than not, you see the talent prevail, right? Like if someone is good and someone is a stud, the talent and the numbers are just going to come because that's the fact of the matter. They're just going to come. Like, look at it last year. Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, all those guys came into the league and were productive right away. Obviously, Chase, far and away was the best one out of the whole bunch. But if you remember, some of the storylines from training camp with Jamar Chase was he couldn't catch. There were so many times where they were talking about drops, and even up until the preseason games, I'm pretty sure they were talking about it. And early on in the season, but once he hit his stride and got in that rhythm, it was to the moon, right? He just soared, and for good reason. He's an extremely talented player, someone who was taken in the top 5. What did he go, 5th overall to the Cincinnati Bengals? It was definitely a top 10 pick. I think it was pick 5. I don't remember off the top of my head the 2021 draft class order at this point, but the point here is with Garrett Wilson, he's still being slept on. I agree with that. He's a sleeper this year because so many other people are talking about the other draft picks from this class. And I get it. I'm excited about all of them. I really am excited about Garrett Wilson. And maybe it's personal bias because that was a wide receiver that I really, really liked a lot in this draft class. Maybe it's because I wanted the Jets to go wide receiver at 10. Granted, I thought it was going to be edge rusher at 4, wide receiver at 10. A lot of people thought that, but that's not how it ended up going. They ended up going corner and Sauce Gardner at 4, then wide receiver at 10, and then they got their edge rusher at whatever it was, 26, wherever they moved up to grab Jermaine Johnson. But I'm excited for Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to add something to this offense that really the Jets haven't had in a long time. He's a dynamic playmaker. And sure, Elijah Moore's a dynamic playmaker, but it's different. The way that Garrett Wilson can go up and get the football and contort his body and make these acrobatic plays. Yes, Elijah Moore has the speed. It's just different. And I think, if you're maybe a little confused by that, when you see these guys on the field at the same time, I think we'll see a little bit how they're different. And, I think Garrett Wilson has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver on this roster. I think he has the lowest floor of any wide receiver in the upcoming or in this past draft class, which is a good thing. But I think he comes in year one, steady, solid numbers. Maybe it's not flashy like over 1,000 yards, but solid, kind of like what we saw from DK Metcalf in year one. Like these guys who come in and give you like 800 plus yards in the first year, and then take that step forward year after year and develop into a star wide receiver. So I'm super excited to watch Garrett Wilson. The point of this video is basically just me saying that, yeah, I think I agree that Garrett Wilson slept on a little bit, but also at the same time, I can't wait to see this guy get on the football field, man. I think he's extremely talented, and I think it's going to be fun watching that Wilson to Wilson connection. Let me know what you think down below in the comments or on social media. Again, please make sure to subscribe here if you're new. I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll talk to you next time.